Mountaineers fall to 2-4, 0-3 in Big 12 play. Meanwhile, BYU wins, improves to 5-0, 2-0 in Big 12 play. I'm Carson Fox for Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports, and thanks you for turning in to this edition of the recap show as the Mountaineers fall 38-24 on the road. I don't want to say a valiant effort, but the effort was there at times. The effort wasn't there at times. They put some things together. They were inconsistent. It was just a complete oxymoron of a game that was really only close at one point in time. Other than that, if you were one who, stayed up through the first half into the wee hours of Saturday morning and then, watched into the second half to see West Virginia put up a fight, get within 2 scores at the beginning of the fourth quarter, only to just quickly, bam, there goes the game. Man, kudos to you. Like, you are a true hardcore, die-hard fan out there. So if you're tuning into this broadcast, that this one is for you. So for sacrificing those hours of sleep that you could have, started off your morning a lot earlier. So awesome job to you, Mountaineer Nation. And shout out to BYU. Just all the things that I've listened to on other recap shows, read comments, seen on social media about BYU. I rip on the Big 12 a lot, but it seems like BYU is one of those programs that, really is a good value add for many reasons, but really one that's kind of intangible is just their hospitality and quality as people. And even seeing some players like, pick some Mountaineers up off the ground, dapping them up at the end of the game, just like, classy program, classy head coach in Kalani Sitake. So it's like it's hard to come on here and really hate them the way that, we do against Pitt and Virginia Tech and all of those things. So I think like there are some lessons that can be learned also for, us, but also all teams that play BYU in the way that they treat opposing fans and buying them ice cream and stuff like that. But beyond that, on the field, just this was one of those games that really just made you, sigh that West Virginia is just not there. This is not the kind of year that, we're going to challenge for any sort of a conference championship. This is a year that we're really going to have to strive to, I feel like, make a bowl game, and even then, there might just not be in the cards for this year. Meanwhile, BYU, all that they lost to the NFL draft, graduation, and then their starting quarterback, who was, kind of on the outside looking in for Heisman hopefuls for this year, he basically gets kicked out of the program midsummer. They find some 3-4-star quarterback out of the rough, and from another program in Stanford, and they turn him into a player who, should be getting national attention. If there was a freshman of the year kind of award, he looked awesome on this day. Bear Bachmeier, 350 passing yards for the day. How many rushing yards did he have here? Let me just pull up the stats real quick. On the rushing for the day, he had 43 yards and a touchdown, and then through the air, he had a passing touchdown as well. What I'll say is, kind of looking at the game in totality, was very surprised very early on that they were going to attack West Virginia deep. No program has really just started off the bat and just, we are going to try and go at you and take heads on the very first play, and that's what BYU did. They attacked, and West Virginia's, if there was one defensive player that you could kind of hang your hat on for all the troubles that they're having defensively, at least Michael Coates looks like he could be, an NFL draft pick. But, BYU went after him with their standout wide receiver, Chase Roberts. 6'4", 210, kind of a matchup problem, just his size, speed combination on the day. Just went after Michael Coates, had a big pickup early in the first quarter. Then was attacked for what I kind of thought was a ticky-tack pass interference call, but that he drew against him. And then the 85-yard bomb that set up a touchdown for BYU just really went after Michael Coates, it felt like, early on in that game. And West Virginia just was kind of out of it after the first half, down 28-10. Another key point I felt like that was I just didn't understand. I mean, I understood the call, but it's a 4th and 2. This was early on. in the first quarter. West Virginia is driving down just 7-0 to start the game. I know that BYU came out hot, was firing on all cylinders, it seemed like, but later on in this, in the first half, West Virginia gets an interception, the first ever on Bear Bachmeier for his college career. Later, they force a fumble on him. So I just think that West Virginia and head coach Rich Rodriguez was a little too aggressive, a little too early. We'd seen how West Virginia's opponents before this season really were killing West Virginia in field position at times. And I thought that was an opportunity on a long 4th and 2 there in the first quarter, going with that heavy fat man package, bringing in 9 offensive linemen. They'd seen it on film since the Pitt game. BYU defense just read it incredibly well. West Virginia got blown right off the ball. Ty Edwards looked like he just hit a brick wall out there and couldn't barrel through for any kind of a push. It was an easy call. It wasn't even close. Turnover on downs. I just didn't like the decision there. Again, early on in the contest, you're just over midfield. I know that the analytics tell you to go for it, but just did not care for that call. Ends up coming to bite West Virginia. And then last chance that West Virginia really had, cut it to a 14-point game. This was going in at the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter. BYU goes on a drive. Let me pull this up for you. I'm getting the play-by-play here off WVSports.com. So West Virginia scores, again, 31-17. BYU gets the ball at their own 25. Bachmeier throws an incomplete pass to Cody Hagan, then hits Parker Kingston for 20 yards for a first down. And then on the very next play, this is when Tiger Bachmeier catches a 5-yard pass out in the flat, fumbles, skips out of bounds. They don't gain anything from it, and then they stuff L.J. Martin on the very next play. So setting up a loss of 1, actually, on that play. Eddie Vesterinen got into the backfield, knocked him back. So this is where I stood up off the couch. This is where I thought, okay, if West Virginia is going to make this a game, it's right here. This is right now for everything that went wrong defensively in the first half. If you can just step up right here, get them off the field, get the ball back, you've already just scored on the last possession. There's more than enough time to make up a 2-score deficit, but no. Bear Bachmeier just finds an open Chase Roberts, 21-yard pickup. They go on that entire drive, chase it down all the way, setting up a 1-yard touchdown run by L.J. Martin. Long drive, taking over more than 7 minutes worth of clock in BYU, and that was kind of all she wrote. Down 21 with 8.5. You let Khalil Wilkins go drive down the field, get all the way to a 4th and 1. But I mean, even though you didn't get it, I mean, you would have liked to get it. Don't get me wrong. Just for morale's sake, I don't know if you're making up 21 points there. I mean, even if you score then 14 with 3 minutes and 15 seconds the way to go, with BYU's defense and the way that you really couldn't throw on this day. So it was just kind of an uncompetitive game up until that one play, that one drive on that one series. And it just kind of just felt demoralizing because you never had a lead in this game. You never had any sort of a momentum swing, any point in time where it wasn't, 50-50, even from the opening kickoff. So, man, just kind of want West Virginia to kind of put this behind them, to shower these 3 games off as best as humanly possible. This isn't the worst case scenario for West Virginia to start out the first half of the season. It's obviously not the best case scenario, or even what I would say, 500. Should have beat Ohio, and then played at least Kansas a little bit tighter. BYU, Utah look to be like top 25 teams in the country. BYU even, better than that. I have them picked 20th right now in the week 7 my top 25 rankings. So very complete. Utah looks kind of the same way, just ran into a red hot top 10 in the country Texas Tech team at the time. So with all that's happened so far, all of the injuries, this past week, your 4th year starting quarterback quits on the team midweek. You have your second string quarterback who kind of goes down with an undisclosed injury. Don't know what's going to happen with him. I think this bye week couldn't be any more perfectly timed for West Virginia to kind of regroup and really just reevaluate, everybody's motivation for this season. How's it going, moving forward, because missed coverage assignments once again were a problem. That was a problem in the Utah game. I think the Big 12 is now scouting West Virginia just as well as Rich Rodriguez is evaluating his own talent. They're finding who are playing what positions and how to attack West Virginia. And now there's increasingly becoming like a blueprint of how to do so. And if West Virginia continues to play from behind, as I always say, it's so much easier to play defense when you only have to defend either one type of play, either pass or run. Excuse me, having to defend both is double trouble on your defense for your defense that's still trying to figure it out. If there's one thing also that just kind of irked me was some of the comments that were made by Andre Ware listening to the broadcast on ESPN. Don't know how to kind of connect the Tony. I'd much rather listen to Tony, but just kind of working with all the technology. I just don't want to have to deal with one more app and all of those kinds of things. Just kind of want to watch the game. But one of the things that he kept saying, about, and we said this about the Utah game, just how much bigger, quote unquote, BYU Utah was. And like I look at this all the time. And like Sonny Redwood's almost 300 pounds. Eddie Vesterinen's 290. Hammond Russell's 315. I know Jamori Robinson's light at 260, but he's kind of an like a weak side edge rusher, things like that. So it just really comes down to, I think that West Virginia has to commit moving forward, as I've been saying this for years. So this is really nothing new, of committing to a four-man front. That I just think going with a 3-3-5, giving the offenses who like to run everything off play action and the RPO, and to get any pressure. No sacks once again for the third consecutive game. Bachmeier was at times a little bit pressured. I feel like more so in the second half than the first half. But man, did West Virginia, I just feel like struggle once again to get into the backfield, and I think you're going to have to do so with 4 down linemen against some of these, teams in the Big 12 that just like to set a foundation of running the football. So that's where those comments from Andre Ware came. The other thing that I didn't like that he, had to say, because this had me at first in the first half really kind of questioning, I feel like, everything and I'll go back to Coach Rodriguez. It's like, is this really going to work with Coach Rodriguez? And like what I'll say is Khalil Wilkins took way too many carries out of the quarterback read run zone option. And maybe that was just what he'd seen. Maybe that BYU was focusing in on Dior Hubbard, Ty Edwards, whoever was playing it, running Clay Ash at the time, and they were just forcing it, let Khalil Wilkins kind of run. And he had varying success at running the ball in this game. But to have 23 carries, I just don't think that this is the old Big East, that you can run at will, or you're going to get these quarterbacks killed out there, taking these kinds of hits. So that's like, it's just kind of hard to tell when he was, they were bringing up the graphics of the coaches who had second stints at their old program, and for the majority of them had more unsuccessful than successful. So it just had me kind of questioning there again with how uncompetitive the defense was playing, how it just seemed like Wilkins was running like a man, running for his life out there and just taking hit after hit on that contest. I was just thinking, like, I don't know if this formula is really necessarily going to work. And segueing that, I felt better in the second half. Felt better. Seemed like that Wilkins, started to gain a little bit more confidence with more experience, with game reps, running the offense, and was able to put some drives together and score. Predominantly on short fields, but at least was able to get something going in that quarterback run game that we desperately wanted to see now. up into game 6. But just, man, was the passing like kind of all over the place. Staring down the defensive back on this day. The first and only interception that he... Oh, no, wait. The first interception that he threw, the second one wasn't really his fault. Who did he throw that to? Oh, I'm sorry. It was number 1 for BYU. Sorry for not having this written down in my notes here. But just kind of stared down the defensive back, made an easy play, jumping on the ball, returning it for what was essentially a pick 6 because BYU was able to score on the very next play. Can't do that. That's kind of a freshman mistake there that you hope will get better. But just, man, some of the throws that he threw way high, threw one ball way downfield to Cam Vaughn where overthrew him about 5 yards. Just didn't have that kind of skill set. And that's where it's like, man, you would love to take the two skill sets of each of these two quarterbacks, Scotty Fox's passing ability with Khalil Wilkins' running ability, and put that all into one player rather than try and rotate in two quarterbacks or figure this out. So it's going to be very interesting, I feel like, moving forward into the second half of the season, how these quarterbacks compete. It just seems like it's, last man standing. If Markey quits, who knows what happens with Jalen Henderson. Max Brown has just been a walking, talking injury through 6 games and all different types of facets. Now you're down to Wilkins and Scotty Fox. So I hope that they can continue to get valuable game reps, and in these games in which they should be competitive against 50-50-ish opponents, I'm looking at UCF, I'm looking at Houston. I know both of those games are on the road, and also Colorado. Anything can happen with TCU, I feel like, on homecoming. Just figuring out what type of... figuring out the passing game for Wilkins and not turning the ball over if you're Scotty Fox. I don't know. What did you think, Mountaineer Nation? What quarterback would you move with moving forward? I think we need to see more out of both. Because it was kind of amazing how, even though BYU was playing a lot of their starters all the way to the very end defensively, Scotty Fox comes in on that last series, pitches one up to Cam Vaughn. He's focused in on the play, easy touchdown. So, damn, if Fox can do more of that, give me more of that. Just coming back to my point about is this necessarily going to work with Rodriguez is I just hope that this was one of the things that I talked about from the day that he was hired was what type of new spin on the read option run game, because that's what everybody now does in college football. So everybody understands it. Everybody knows how to defend it. What kind of wrinkles was he going to put on it? And I think, to make this offense still move, you have to have a mobile quarterback. So you have to have that dynamic as part of your game. So you have to recruit to that now in that position. You need some speed running backs, but also some power for those short yardage situations and change of pace. So would love to see Jaheim White alongside Ty Edwards and kind of Dior Hubbard spelling him. So that might be something moving forward. And I actually think West Virginia found a second wide receiver in this game. I think Jeff Weimer really stepped up. This might have been his best game as a Mountaineer. Just 2 catches for 43 yards in this day and a 32-yard long. Showed really, strong hands, and he's probably the biggest wide receiver that West Virginia has. Just from compact, strong, can fight through defenders. So 6'2", 215. That's awesome. I like pairing him alongside Cam Vaughn. Cam Vaughn did have that touchdown, but he also forced that interception, the second one. I don't know if he just lost the ball on the lights or what happened, kind of was fighting with the defensive back, hits him in his hands, he juggles it right into Tanner Walls for the interception. You could tell he's frustrated. Wilkins was frustrated on that pass. I'm sure Vaughn is a vocal guy of wanting the ball. Throws it up to him. That's your chance, and you cause an interception. So I hope that through this bye week that, Vaughn's really able to lock in. I think with Wilkins and with Fox not rotating in these 3 other different quarterbacks and Henderson, if you can't already tell, I've kind of moved on. From Markey, Henderson, and Brown, and let's go all in with Fox and Wilkins moving forward, rotating them in at 1A and 1B, and getting them comfortable with this cast of characters. I think the offensive line did better. I was a little bit worried with that. I know that, you didn't get the push up front that you needed on the fourth down attempts, 4th and 1 on both occasions. You still, as a team, only technically ran for 156 yards, 89 of that coming from Wilkins on those spread read option runs. So on the running back plays, Hubbard only had 32 yards, Ash had 3, Edwards had 2. So you got to do better there. You got to do better as a line pushing up front. But a bounce-back performance from Tykees Crawford. Kimo Makaneole's back and healthy. So I think this is just a really good... would have liked to have it last week, to be honest with you, but better late than never. Get to the bye week. West Virginia can double back up, regroup, kind of get back to the bare essentials. Hopefully get improvements at those fundamentals. Not as many missed tackles this week as it was against Utah. I think this will give everybody an opportunity to kind of heal and charge up. You'd love for a home game off the bye. But, going on the road to UCF, other than Cincinnati, the next closest, I feel like, or maybe Iowa State. But nice, easy trip there, mid-October down to UCF. That's when West Virginia kind of turned their season around 2 years ago on the road against the Knights. They got a tough one next week against Cincinnati, then have to take on West Virginia. So I hope that West Virginia can come out, in their next game, look healed, refreshed, like invigorated, figuring it out in over the next 2 weeks worth of practice, and that they can kind of put these pieces together of, who are these guys who only have 1 year's worth of eligibility, but really have shown some things, and we need to continue to depend upon them, throughout the rest of the season, but still trying to work in some younger guys to kind of see and know what they have. So I don't know if I would say a full-on youth movement just yet, because you'd like to win this game against Cincinnati, hope it builds up some sort of confidence to maybe go on a run. If you could run 4 in a row, UCF, TCU, Houston, and Colorado, that gets you to bowl eligibility. That gets you within still shooting for, I know it's against Arizona State on the road and then Texas Tech, but that still has you shooting for a potential 8-4 type of season out there. But that's exactly what happened to West Virginia in 2021. They went into the bye week at 2-4 and then completely changed around their season with those wins against Iowa State and Texas. So I wouldn't say this is the end of the world. This is the end of the season. I would just say that now a foundation is laid. West Virginia needs to learn how to win now. Have to put those pieces together. I'm proud that they didn't come out there and just flinch. There weren't very many penalties in this game. BYU was penalized 10 times to West Virginia's 3. Penalties weren't an issue. Wasn't like calling timeouts because of the loud crowd noise. I think West Virginia handled that kind of hostile environment, if you want to call it that, out there at BYU, even though, very nice people out there. The altitude, maybe that had a bit of an effect on the defense, against when West Virginia was going through 3-and-outs rather quickly. So I just think tough road environment, late night contest, a tough opponent, and you came out there and you played. You didn't roll over. You didn't take it on the chin so much. You went out there and fought hard, just against a team that right now, more disciplined, veteran team, have a lot of pieces already, a part of the puzzle figured out, good head coach at home. So I think there was some good, there was a lot of bad. So definitely some stuff to work on through this bye week, regroup back in Morgantown, and then be ready to take it on the road. So how did you feel about it, Mountaineer Nation? Did you stay up through this one? Did you like some things? Did you not like some things? Love to know what you thought on the quarterback play. Please like this video if you've liked it so more fans can see it around YouTube, and love to have you a subscriber to my channel. I'll come back in the middle of the week and talk about something about this football squad. Feeling a little bit better, if you can't already tell in my voice, than what I was at the end of last week. So hopefully with a little bit more sleep, a little bit more energy, I'll be able to bring it with some other content. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog. I do this each and every week and have a lot of fun doing it. Hail West Virginia. Let's go. Spot the ball.